Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. I am here live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala about the 10 reasons why your B2B marketing doesn't get a sale. It's not even getting a meeting. So let me just take a sip. You see me on with my glasses again. I have the potential of another eye surgery, this time on the lid. And it's all because of like past, traumas to the area, whether I need to go get surgery or if I'm going to try a hot compress. We'll see. I'm hoping that I don't have to wear these glasses for long. And if I do get the surgery, I'm going to be wearing them for a while, I guess. But in the meantime, enough about my glasses. Let's talk about the 10 reasons why your B2B marketing doesn't get a sale. This is where I'm usually hired, is because CEOs of companies have been trying with their own internal teams, with third parties on, multiple different areas of marketing, and it's just not yielding anything. There's no ROI. Not only is there no ROI, but in terms of like getting meetings, but they can't close a sale, because if they can't get the meetings, they can't get the sale. And not only that, they can't really pinpoint where it's all going wrong and which part of their marketing budget is being spent well versus not well. There's no real key metrics in place. So I made a top 10 list of what I know have been issues for my clients in the past. And I'm going to zip through them and give you my ton of advice. I've talked about many of these things in past lives. I don't mean like past lives as in reincarnation, but past live streams. So, this is kind of like taking a step back up to the macro level, top of the trees, to just do a summary and see which of these you could be affected by, for you to just listen to it with that ear of whether you're fully present in that one aspect that I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to be talking about 10 reasons. The first one is targeting. Targeting is the number one reason. In fact, it's so important that one of my first trade show booths was this giant, 7-foot sign that was a pull-up that was huge. And I used to carry that in a ski bag, and it would roll up. And it was the sign of a man on his chest, just like the Target sign. And I would the caption on the sign read, "Is your targeting off?" And that could be causing the problem. So the wrong targeting is if you're doing the best marketing, but it's hitting the wrong target. The wrong targeting could be a combination of people who don't have the problem that you're selling to, that you're an expert in, people who you don't have a lot of access in, or who don't know you from Adam, so that you're not established in front of them as a thought leader and an expert in their problem. That's the wrong target. If you don't even have a target, meaning you're trying to sell to everyone, that's the wrong target. Wrong targeting is the top of the number one reason of why B2B marketing is not working. So that's the first thing we do with clients, is we look at their targeting in their marketing strategy. Number two is messaging. If their messaging is ineffective, meaning if the messaging is not based on a very specific group of people with a very specific pain point that you can help them in, and it's not carved out of a more generic problem, so that it is like, let's say it's retention. I think I gave this example last week. It's retention, but it's retention of millennials due to ineffective conversations with leadership, or due to ineffective conflict resolution. So whatever the actual fine point is, that is proper niching, and that needs to be the core of the proper messaging. Okay, unless you have a niche, you can't message properly. Your messaging will blend in. It won't stand out. It'll sound like every other competitor's, and it'll be super generic. Therefore, any kind of marketing that gets it out there, as long as your targeting is wrong and your messaging is wrong, is not gonna work. And unless you figure these things out strategically, instead of throwing spaghetti at the wall and just keep trying whatever the agency of the day tells you to do, or whatever you're guessing at, or whoever is around you, proximity advice is like whoever you're talking to that day and they say, oh, this has kind of worked for me, and you go home and try that. That kind of stuff is just time wasters, money wasters. There is a way to do it. There is a method to the madness. I learned it from the large companies when I launched new products every year, and there is a way to do it better. Okay. Number 3 is poor lead quality, and how that comes across is from the wrong targeting and the wrong funnels and the wrong messaging to attract the wrong targeting. So once you do have, so it's really about the funnels that you're building, whether that's, a funnel is whether it's a means of getting interested people to talk to you, to be aware of you, and to set up calls with you. And for some people, these sales lead funnels are just literally online ads where they click and they show interest in your message and interest in talking to you, versus all the way to the in-person stuff that I do, which is getting on a stage, speaking to a large crowd, making an invitation to them to come and meet with me if they're interested in working with me one-on-one. And that's my funnel. So if I have a funnel, but the leads that are coming in are of poor lead quality, one is I'm in front of the wrong group, meaning I have the wrong audience. 2, I'm presenting the wrong thing, which is I have the wrong message. They're not in pain. The people in the audience are not in pain for that. And 3 is that I haven't qualified my offer, meaning I used to say, just come and talk to me if you have any questions to ask. But now I am qualifying them as saying, if you're of a certain size and have this problem and want to hire an expert like me, then let's talk. So I'm qualifying all of that. So poor lead quality is the number 3 reason why the marketing doesn't get a sale. Number 4 is the lack of follow-up. There's like scary stats around follow-up. Nobody follows up. And the reason is because 1, it takes a really long time. 2, it's laborious. It needs a strategy. I've done live streams about this before. You need to stagger it. You need to have different formats of it. One's going to be online, one's going to be an email, one's going to be a Loom video, one's going to be an in-person meeting where they're going to gather for their industry. There's so many different ways. One's going to be being on a podcast that they're watching, and so on. One's going to be sending them a gift, a contextual gift. So because you don't have a follow-up strategy, most people don't do follow-up, and there's an enormous amount of business left on the table because of lack of follow-up. People are great at spending their brains out at the first contact, which is like a trade show, or investing for all their team to go to this, event, whatever it is, or even just networking event where you're investing your time and money to be there. But if you're not following up, it's just literally throwing that money down the toilet, honestly. So lack of follow-up is the number 4 reason. Number 5 is misalignment between marketing and sales. And this comes back to the misalignment of what marketing is doing because they think that's what the industry needs, that's what the company needs, but they're not really talking to sales, who's on the ground, and sales either isn't using the material because they don't think it's good enough. And believe me, folks, when I worked at Pepsi, I did both. I was both like field sales staff for 6 months, and then I was in marketing. So I know that when I worked in marketing, I hated sales. When I worked in sales, I hated marketing. And for that reason, there was a misalignment because the materials that we would produce as lead funnels or collateral were so out of line with what the sales reps needed and what they were saying on the ground and what they were seeing on the ground with respect to competitors and pain points that it wasn't usable, wasn't even usable. And then the marketing folks, as when I was in marketing, we used to be completely baffled and, resentful of the fact that these sales reps were doing all this work and they're not using it. Well, that's because there was a misalignment. So the right strategy always aligns the two together. In terms of a definition, everything that you do until the question, how much is it, is termed marketing. Everything that comes after that question is sales. But either way, they have to be part of the same part and parcel of the same marketing strategy, which dictates who are you going to target and what are you going to be selling and positioning as on which pain point, and then how are you going to message it. Okay, so the misalignment between sales and marketing. Number 6 is inadequate content. So one of the things, it's very funny because one of the things that I just read today is that there are companies who are now specialized in rewriting chat GPT content. So a lot of content went all the way, like companies fired their content creators, their copywriters, and they thought it was good enough to, do work through chat GPT. And the people who are deep specialists, or customers who are buying, who are real experts in their industry, and they've worked there for years and years and years, what they're calling chat GPT write-ups are word salads, and they're inaccurate. And I actually discovered this by doing a little bit of research on the percentages that they were giving, because I would prompt, give me a percentage of businesses that are doing such and such. And then it would definitely, ChatGPT would generate some sort of percentage. But then when I searched it back on Google or asked ChatGPT to give me the source, it would say that this is not a sourceable content. It's a composite made up number. And I could not locate any such research or data anywhere else on the web. So it's completely made up in terms of stats. I don't think it has the capability to give me stats. If anybody knows how to get that, I wasn't able to figure that out. So it's very true that it really is kind of like a generic word salad. Sometimes in some cases it's easier to tell than others, but people are getting wise to it now, and they're really beginning to feel like the final finished product needs to have gone through an actual human. Perhaps the ideation and the idea generation phase is a good idea to start the conversation or the content outline and the bold metrics of what you're going to be providing as content, but definitely has to have an oversight and final finished product finished off by a human. So why am I saying this? Is because inadequate content can mean both that what you're writing is not capturing the actual audience that you're trying to target. And that could be because of that generic feel of the ChatGPT AI generated content, or it could be that the messaging is off. So, or it could be the volume, or it could be that you're placing your content in front of the wrong venues where your actual buyer would never be. So for example, there are certain levels of executives that would never, ever, ever be on Facebook to interact with your brand. They would never, never, ever be on even LinkedIn. Sometimes they're so cosseted and busy and closeted into boardroom meetings all the time. So you have to find the channels that are right for them. So that's what I mean by inadequate content. Number 7 of the 10 reasons why your B2B marketing doesn't get a sale is weak online presence. The number one way, you guys, to look bigger than you are as a company, and I should know, is your online presence. And that starts, believe it or not, with a pretty, flashy, expensive website. Now, it has to be often changeable because we want to refresh your look every couple of years. And, if it's leaner, it's easier and cheaper to replace. But also it has to be like your social media presence. Sometimes when companies refer each other to their clients, I've heard of clients going to the websites and the social media content and presence and being disappointed with what they see there, and therefore thinking that this, referred vendor is not in the same leagues or doesn't give trust because they don't look big enough. Your online presence is your brand. And if you don't want to spend the money in putting together a well-developed online presence, then you're just going to not be getting those meetings because people are going to be scared. I mean, like looks for like. People in large corporations, executives want to feel safe. So your online presence has to look like you know what you're talking about. You've spent the money. You can afford to spend the money in the kind of look, presence, and brand online. Okay. Number 8, ignoring data and analytics. Every single marketing content that I see now in terms of articles for B2B, everything is talking about AI. AI has infiltrated the entire world, but especially the world of marketing, and especially with respect to data analytics. If you're not using it for repetitive tasks or for research or for content creation or any of the things that we talked about, if you're of a certain scale, you have to use it for data analytics so that you can inform your next decisions. It's going to tell you which parts of the website are working or not. It's going to tell you which piece of advertising worked or not. It's going to tell you what kind of people are captivated by your message. It's going to tell you who else is there that you can target. I'm using AI in through Walaxy, which is a software for LinkedIn that I've used for my campaign for my masterclass that I had last week. So if you're ignoring data and analytics, you're kind of behind the 8 ball here. Number 9 is pricing issues. Price is one of the P's of the 4 P's of marketing. And if you are not pricing at the right level, so pricing is also one of the biggest communicators of your quality and the biggest determinants of your target market. So combining all those and with your industry plus putting in the competitive set of what their pricing is and how you stack up and whether your positioning can support that, those are all things that can hurt your B2B marketing and enable you or disable you from being able to get a sales meeting and then a sale. So yeah, you have to. And one of the other things that I always talk about is that pricing is something that buyers want to know earlier. In fact, there's a stat, like I think sales close 15% higher if the price is talked about in the first meeting with the buyers. And I'm talking about B2B corporate buyers of large services. So it's fascinating that they just want to get cut to the chase because especially after the pandemic, corporate buyers are no longer spending meetings and time finding out information about the features and benefits or services. What they're doing is they're doing the majority of the buying journey on their own, looking at stuff like what we talked about, which is the website and the SEO and the social media. So your web presence, they're getting all that information from videos and articles and whatever else they can find, podcasts that you may have done, whatever it is. And then they're inviting you in to cut to the chase, which is why they want to hear about the price in the first meeting. So there's stats that actually show that they do. So pricing, you have to consider how that's playing into why your B2B marketing efforts may not be working. And lastly, we have the inadequate customer support. Well, poor customer service during the pre-sale. If they can't reach you, if they can't find you, they can't ask you questions, they're not getting the right responsiveness when they're asking questions in the pre-stage period, which is still considered the marketing, that's just going to shoot you in the foot. If, like, for example, every time I have a broken link that I'm trying to sell something with, every time that I have a website crash, that's just shooting myself in the foot. So, that's just one example of how to fail in your customer support. But if you get that piece right, especially pre-sale, that marketing is going to turn into an opportunity for a meeting and ask for a meeting, and then that's going to convert into a sale. So I hope that was helpful. That was the 10 reasons why your B2B marketing doesn't get a sale. And even if you catch just one of those that I've said and you change whatever it is that you're doing or not doing in that one thing, I think you're going to see a favorable shift. I will see you next week, everyone. Take care.